What really is happening behind the scenes? Decoding all of this in just a bit. Also on the show for you tonight, protests against Asim Munir's bloody crackdown in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir are intensifying as the anger boils over and several innocent civilians are gunned down. A Gravitas special report. Is cryptocurrency Sharia compliant? We tell you all about the huge uproar in Pakistan. Is a jealous Volodymyr Zelensky punishing a successful defense minister? We tell you why the question is being asked while people are livid over alleged corruption. A major alleged milk adulteration scam has been exposed in Maharashtra. Over 100 scientists have quit as ISRO's so-called brain drain could impact India's space ambitions. We decode the implications. We also break down for you the UK-Pakistan tussle over grooming gangs. Can chronic sleep loss cause weight gain? We tell you what a study says. All this and more coming up. A daring Iran plan could trigger total war in West Asia. With tensions spiraling out of control, Iran and America are not just exchanging fire. They are sending out strong signals, exchanging heated warnings. But what really is brewing behind the scenes? What will the next move be? What's in store for the region? And how far will the two sides go? A lot depends on these answers. A number of key questions are being raised. Is Iran planning to seize a US base? Will Iran kidnap American soldiers? A single move at this point could send tensions exploding. With the flames of uncertainty already engulfing the entire region, a former Iranian foreign minister has made an explosive call. He has called for a ground assault on a US military base in the region and the capture of 100 Americans. Who is also now a member of Iran's parliament and a former foreign minister of the country. According to Iranian media, reportedly, this is what he said. My proposal is that we launch a ground attack on one of the US bases in the region. He goes on to say, capture 100 Americans and bring them to Iran. That's the statement, and it's explosive. Remember, calls to seek revenge have only been growing louder. And the images we've been seeing have been as hard-hitting as they could be, as hard-hitting as they could be. Take a look at this one. These are not just ordinary images. This is perhaps the loudest message Iran could send at this point, pretty much showing the American leader in that state. Meanwhile, on the ground, both sides intensifying attacks. Iran and America exchanged intensified fire on Thursday in this week-long escalation. Is Iran's release of a US citizen also a signal? Is it signaling a path to avert the resumption of all-out war? In the midst of the attacks, the US president has hailed the release of a US citizen in Iran as a gesture of goodwill. In fact, just for context, over decades of confrontation, the release of US citizens held in Iran has been managed through behind-the-scenes contacts that persisted when formal diplomacy was cut off. But then is the latest move to release the US citizen a sign? Is there more to this, or will Iran and America both continue to go down this dangerous path of escalation? Remember, the late Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's last rites were delayed because of the war. And when those ceremonies were finally underway, tensions once again had spiked. The attacks took place. The symbolism even then was hard to miss. It was Iran also sending out a strong message then. Banners, chants, calling for death to America and Israel, red flags of revenge, as they are called, dotting the streets in Iran. And that messaging then had only intensified. In fact, an Iranian lawmaker has criticized a parliamentary proposal titled Revenge Against Trump. According to him, a member of Parliament's Social Committee, he had earlier said that genuine retaliation would not be carried out through legislation. I'm quoting now from what he said. Someone who wants to take revenge does not turn it into a law. Someone who does these things certainly does not want the action to happen. If we are truly seeking revenge, we take revenge. And the way to do it is not through legislation. He added, when the Americans wanted to strike us, they did not pass a law. That's a sample of the sentiment on the ground. Remember, for the first time since the Memorandum of Understanding paused the fighting last month, the United States launched 2 big waves of airstrikes in one day on Wednesday, mostly on targets near the coast in southern Iran. In fact, Iran responded with missiles, drones fired at U.S. military bases in neighboring countries, including a major barrage at a recently expanded air base in Jordan. U.S. attacks targeted various parts of Iran, with a children's cancer treatment facility reportedly also bearing the brunt, while Iran shot down an MQ-9 Reaper drone reportedly and attacked U.S. bases in the region. Yet again, no dearth of warnings. Iran has categorically a while ago said the Strait of Hormuz is a red line. It also issued a stern warning, declaring that if Trump carries through the threat of attacking Iranian infrastructure, Iran will retaliate by attacking Gulf infrastructure, crushing the infrastructure. The week of increasingly intense fire has tested the limits of escalation that both sides set during 4 months of fighting before last month's truce, with both sides showing that they are ready to press harder while the region is staring at volatility that could spiral out of control. The Pentagon has launched a highly controversial medical mandate, meanwhile, with an aim to make the American troops more combat ready. Under an aggressive new directive, all active duty troops aged 30 and above will face mandatory screening for testosterone deficiency as the fallout from a brutal war with Iran mounts. Washington, it seems, is betting on hormone intervention to force a more resilient war fighter. Take a look.
The next battle for the United States military may not be fought with missiles or fighter jets. It may be fought inside the human body. The Pentagon has unveiled a new policy that will introduce annual testosterone deficiency screening for all active duty service members aged 30 and above. Younger troops will also be able to volunteer for testing. Those diagnosed with low testosterone can choose testosterone replacement therapy under medical supervision.
I'm authorizing a new screening program for testosterone deficiency for our service members, ensuring you have the right testosterone levels to operate at your absolute best. Because it's well-established science that as we age, testosterone levels often naturally drop.
The Pentagon argues that maintaining optimal hormone levels could help service members recover faster, improve physical performance, and remain fit for demanding military operations. The timing is significant. America's armed forces are engaged in an intense military confrontation in West Asia. The US military recently disclosed that around 400 service members suffered traumatic brain injuries during the conflict with Iran, highlighting the invisible toll of modern warfare. Blast waves, even without visible wounds, can damage the brain, affecting memory, concentration, mood, and long-term health. Military doctors say combat today places extraordinary stress on the human body. Repeated deployments, sleep deprivation, extreme physical exertion, and constant operational pressure can all contribute to hormonal changes, fatigue, and slower recovery. The Pentagon believes early screening could identify problems before they affect operational performance. Supporters call it preventive medicine. Critics urge caution. Medical experts stress that testosterone therapy is not suitable for everyone. It carries potential risks and should only be prescribed after thorough evaluation and regular monitoring. They also argue that hormone treatment cannot replace fitness, nutrition, rest, and mental health care. Pentagon's latest move shows a broader shift inside the US military. Modern combat is no longer measured only by the power of tanks, missiles, and aircraft. It is increasingly measured by the endurance of the soldier, because in the wars of the future, the strongest weapon may not always be the one carried into battle. It may be the body carrying it. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Over 40 days have gone by since the protests started in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and ahead of the protesters' long march to Muzaffarabad. The Pakistan Army Chief's forces killed 9 people in a fresh escalation, as per Reuters. Protesters now have issued a fresh ultimatum to Pakistan. Thousands of supporters of the civil society group, Joint Awami Action Committee, JAAC, have been on a sit-in at the Eidgah ground since the 9th of June. And the protests, remember, were originally ignited by that ban on JAC, which basically put forth 38 demands, including the abolition of 12 seats in the so-called Legislative Assembly, which are dominated by Pakistanis. However, Asim Munir has opted for brute force, with security personnel opening fire and tear gas on innocent civilians. On Tuesday, for instance, protesters were killed in Tarakhal. As per reports, Pakistan deployed 4,000 security personnel to stop the protesters from entering Muzaffarabad. While internet remains suspended in the area, reports also suggesting that a media blackout has been imposed. Several paths have been sealed. Although the long march was temporarily put off after holding talks with the government, the JAC has given a fresh deadline. If Islamabad does not agree to its demands by July 21st, protesters will embark on a long march to Muzaffarabad on the 22nd of July. Meanwhile, one of the prominent leaders of JAC vociferously contested Pakistan's claim over Jammu and Kashmir. Addressing protesters, he asserted that POK is neither independent nor a disputed territory. He called it an occupied territory. The statement was met with a loud applause from thousands of people as they voiced their support. Take a look.
ये मकबूजा इलाका है, ये मकबूजा इलाका, इस पर कब्जा है। ये इस पर क़यादतें मौजूद हैं और उन क़यादतों की मौजूदगी में ये एक डिस्प्यूटेड टेरिटरी है, ये एक मुतनाज़ा इलाका है, लेकिन ये मुतनाज़ा नहीं है, ये मकबूजा इलाका है।
Previously, remember, he had appealed to India to provide food and medicines to the residents of POK, accusing Pakistan of curtailing essential supplies to the area. He also warned that protesters could consider marching towards the line of control if Munir's forces respond to the people's demand with bullets. But what really is the root cause of the crisis? Speaking to WION, London-based Pakistani journalist Adil Farooq, linked the ongoing protests to the unequal distribution of resources in the country. According to him, public resentment had grown as most funds are going to the military, he says, even as economic relief eludes the common man.
Started as an economic protest, but it is not an economic protest anymore. The initial demand did focus on governance and public grievances. Protest leaders are now framing the movement into broader political terms because the social contract is not working.
And all of this triggers some serious questions. Can Pakistan afford to alienate POK further, considering that internal turmoil is only rising in Balochistan, also Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, with its role as a so-called mediator also completely, in a way, affected, unraveling to a certain extent after the resumption of hostilities between the US and Iran? The crisis for Asim Munir is only intensifying. Time now for the global headlines at this hour, taking you around the world in 120 seconds.
At least one person is dead and 23 are missing after a passenger boat sank on the way to an island in Indonesia. 46 survivors have been located. Efforts are on to find the missing passengers. One person died and many fell ill in a temporary crowd surge during the Rath Yatra celebrations in Odisha's Puri. Lakhs of devotees joined the annual Rath Yatra festival in the seaside temple town. Chinese President Xi Jinping met Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev in Shanghai for bilateral talks. Tokayev is in China to attend the 2026 World Artificial Intelligence Conference and high-level meeting on global AI governance. French President Emmanuel Macron announced a fundraising campaign to help restore the Fontainebleau forest after wildfires burnt nearly 2,000 hectares south of Paris. Macron said it would take several weeks to fully extinguish the fire. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer pay their respects to fallen soldiers at Kyiv's Wall of Remembrance during Starmer's visit to Ukraine. Zelensky and Starmer also held a moment of silence to pay their respects. Dangerous flooding in Texas has intensified after days of pounding rain, sending emergency crews scrambling to rescue people from the rising waters and setting off urgent warnings from forecasters. Floodwaters overran the city of Uvalde, cutting off access to surrounding areas. Syria claims it has foiled an attempt to smuggle weapons to Hezbollah in Lebanon by seizing a shipment that included missiles at its border with Iraq.
Meanwhile, Pakistan's ambitious drive to build a regulated cryptocurrency industry has hit a religious hurdle, it seems, after one of the country's leading Islamic seminaries ruled that cryptocurrencies cannot currently be considered valid wealth or a permissible means of payment under Islamic law. Let's just break it down for you. First of all, the ruling. It has basically prompted Pakistan's Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority to seek further guidance. Rather than abandon its crypto plans, reports suggest regulators have asked the Islamic scholars to distinguish between different types of digital assets instead of treating all cryptocurrencies as one category. And the move comes as Pakistan accelerates plans to license crypto exchanges, develop tokenized state assets, and expand the use of stable coins for cross-border payments. Crypto, remember, has also become a part of Islamabad's broader economic, diplomatic strategy to an extent, including cooperation with US-based blockchain firms. So this debate is extremely significant, and it also reflects a broader trend in a way across the Islamic world. Many Islamic scholars argue that cryptocurrencies backed by real assets can comply with Sharia principles because they represent ownership of tangible assets or enforceable claims. In fact, by contrast, highly speculative cryptocurrencies with no underlying asset remain controversial, with concerns that excessive uncertainty and speculation resemble gambling, which, remember, is prohibited under Islamic finance. And for now, crypto trading in Pakistan remains largely unaffected, but the religious ruling could also complicate wider adoption by banks as well as financial institutions. Shifting focus, Russia has unleashed another deadly assault on Ukraine. Kiev said the massive attack killed at least 13 people, injured more than 50 people. Even as Ukraine battles attacks from the air, President Zelensky is facing growing political turbulence at home. It's only getting worse. A sweeping government reshuffle has sparked protests, criticism, and major questions about Kiev's wartime leadership. We are breaking it down in our report.
The night sky over Kyiv lit up once again. Air defenses rode into action. Ballistic missiles streaked overhead, drone swarm and massive glide bombs rained down. The latest strikes hit several regions, including Kyiv, Odessa, Sumy, Zaporizhzhia and Mykolaiv. According to Ukrainian authorities, Russia launched 13 missiles, including 8 ballistic missiles, along with 151 drones. It was already the 6th ballistic missile on Kyiv in July alone. But as rescue team worked through the aftermath, another battle was unfolding. This one inside Ukraine's political establishment. Protests have been taking place in several Ukrainian cities against President Vladimir Zelensky's surprise dismissal of Popular Defense Minister. Some are questioning why no elections are being held in the country.
I care about the fate of my country. And when highly effective people are just thrown out of their positions for unclear reasons, that's not okay. The resignation of the government is okay. The resignation of the minister is not okay. We need to hold new elections.
I'm not really here to be for or against the minister. I'm more here for the idea that people should be honest with us as a society, that we should be told at least some basic criteria for why people are dismissed and why others are appointed.
Along with the deeply popular defense minister, the country's prime minister was also sacked. The double sacking has triggered instant outrage across the country.
I see this Fedorov's dismissal as a very ill-considered decision that will affect the speed of procurement, the transparency of procurement, the morale of the military and the morale of society. I believe Fedorov should remain in his position despite everything.
For the first time in a very long period of war, there was at least some hope that it might end in the not-too-distant future. If Fedorov is removed now, that hope may disappear.
The removal risks throwing uncertainty into the military at a time when Ukraine is in one of its best positions in the war for months, having halted the pace of Russia's advance and regularly pounding Russian oil and military sites with long-range drones. For Ukraine, the challenge is twofold: holding the fort line against Russia and maintaining public confidence at home. Because in wartime, battlefield victories alone are not enough. Political stability can become a strategic asset just as important as missile, tanks, or air defenses.
On to a Gravitas special report. This one is about a silent but deadly crisis that is gripping India over time. Synthetic additives are increasingly seeping into our daily diet, it seems. Even milk, which is one of the most widely consumed items, is not immune from adulteration. A massive milk adulteration scam has left people in shock. This unfolded in Maharashtra, when the people, along with the Food and Drug Administration officials, raided a synthetic milk manufacturing unit, reportedly. Their findings will startle you. Officials suspect that over 2.3 crore liters of adulterated milk may have entered the market over the last 6 months. While 9 people have been arrested so far, the manufacturing network, distribution chain, buyers are now reportedly under the scanner. In a separate crackdown on July 4 and 5, simultaneous raids were conducted across 5 districts of Maharashtra. In fact, authorities reportedly seized adulterated milk, chemicals, machinery, and are probing a possible interstate supply chain. They allege that synthetic milk was manufactured using detergent, shampoo, palm oil, other chemicals before being mixed with genuine milk. Imagine drinking that kind of milk. While cases have been registered against 26 people, 13 have been arrested so far. At present, authorities are examining whether the 2 adulteration networks are even connected. It is suspected that inferior quality milk powder and detergent powder is used to maintain the authenticity of the milk. According to medical experts, consuming this kind of milk can have serious consequences for kidney, liver, digestive system. In February this year, milk adulteration was unearthed in Andhra Pradesh as well. Just one such example. Suspicion arose when multiple elderly people were admitted to a hospital with severe symptoms like vomiting, acute renal dysfunction. Clinical findings suggested toxic exposure, which was subsequently traced to consumption of milk from a local dairy. 16 lives were lost because of this. 16 people. Later, the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister announced a financial compensation of 10 lakh rupees for the families of these victims. But is that enough? There are serious questions. What is the legal framework even to deal with this menace? India's Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006 provides for penalties like a 6-month jail term, fines up to 10 lakh rupees for unsafe food. The BNS also provides similar type of punishment. On the other hand, the Consumer Protection Act also allows citizens to seek compensation for harm caused because of adulterated food. In December last year, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India directed all states and union territories to launch a special enforcement drive against adulteration and misbranding of milk and milk products, like paneer. And as part of this crackdown, food safety authorities at the state level are supposed to regularly inspect licensed as well as unlicensed dairy units and trace sources of adulteration. In case of violations, strict action including license cancellation, closure of illegal units can be taken. States were also directed to submit fortnightly enforcement reports on the action taken. That's all good, but what about the implementation? It remains uneven. At the state level, considering that this crisis directly threatens children's growth, long-term health of people overall, enhanced consumer awareness, stricter punishments are an urgent need of the hour. After all, this is about your health, your family's health. On to South India. Months after storming to power, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister is crafting his own public narrative, it seems. Defined by his trademark portrayals on the silver screen, few have transitioned from the world of cinema to politics with the ease that Vijay has shown. Our next report, getting you the complete story.
Tamil Nadu Chief Minister C. Joseph Vijay is rewriting the rule book in Indian politics. From the silver screen to the hot seat in the corridors of power. Vijay has transitioned from an actor to the Chief Minister in his classic Talapati style. At the heart of Vijay's politics lies a simple strategy, connecting with the masses, just as he did on screen. Vijay's engagements with the public have shattered the glass ceiling that usually separates the ruling elite from the masses. After 2 months in power, Vijay is yet to address any pressure. Instead, he has relied on connecting with the masses directly. Each interaction adding to his on-screen persona of a hero fighting for the common man. From making a surprise inspection at the government hospital in Chennai where he was born, to travelling on a public bus, paying for his own ticket. Or taking the wheels outside the state secretariat. Vijay has shown no love for the VVIP tag that most politicians in India carry. This level of public engagement is unprecedented in Tamil Nadu. The actor turned politician has proven himself to be an astute politician, one who can read the political moves, craft a narrative that resonates among the masses, showing politicians across India a template to engage with the public. While Vijay seems to have made a smooth transition from the silver screen, not everyone has found the transition smooth. DMK's Udayanidhi Stalin too dabbled in cinema once, but left the Tamil film industry for a more active role in the state's politics. The Stalin scion had once said it wasn't possible to achieve a political career through films alone, but Vijay has proven him and other skeptics wrong. From cinema screens to smartphone feeds, Vijay is betting that public engagement can translate into political momentum. For now, this strategy has delivered electoral success for Vijay. In a political arena where the battle for votes is increasingly being fought through visibility and a carefully crafted public connect, Vijay seems to have brought the tricks of the trade from the silver screen to the heart of Tamil Nadu's politics. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
India's space ambitions could be facing a major setback, not because of any technical issues, but because it is losing some of its most experienced scientists. What's really happening here? More than 100 scientists have reportedly resigned from ISRO in recent months, prompting the Indian government to also step in with measures to try and slow the exodus. And this development leads to a larger question. Can India even achieve its major space ambitions when its top talent is walking away? And why are they walking away? While neither ISRO nor the Department of Space has officially explained the resignations. According to those privy to the matter, the rapid rise of India's private space industry is creating lucrative opportunities outside the organization. As startups and aerospace firms expand, experienced ISRO scientists are increasingly moving into leadership and high-paying technical roles. Officials say that some of these exits are linked to internal issues and work-related matters. The concern has now reached the highest levels. In fact, the Department of Space has directed ISRO centers not to routinely accept resignations or voluntary retirement requests from Group A scientists working on strategic missions, including the Gaganyaan human spaceflight program, by the way. Every such request must now go directly to the Department of Space for final approval. According to reports, between 100 and 120 scientists have resigned in recent months. Between 100 and 120, nearly 80 reportedly left the U.R. Rao Satellite Center in Bengaluru, while around 20 reportedly exited the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center in Thiruvananthapuram. Several senior figures reportedly also believed to be among those who resigned, including the LVM-3 project director and key Chandrayaan-3 scientists who led the mission's simulation team. The recent departures have reignited that long-running debate over talent retention at ISRO. As per reports, around 700 employees resigned from the organization between 2012 and 2024. An RTI-based report published in 2017 had also found that nearly 300 scientists left ISRO over a 5-year period, underlining that retaining experienced talent has remained a challenge for years. And this challenge is not unique to India, of course. The United States also has been grappling with concerns over scientific brain drain, as it's called. In recent years, over 80 American scientists and researchers have moved to China, reportedly drawn by generous research funding, world-class laboratories, faster approvals, and attractive long-term incentives. While in the United States, on the contrary, such such grants for research are being reduced by the Trump administration, reportedly. For ISRO, however, the real challenge is perhaps not just simply filling up the vacant positions. It's likely to be preserving the decades of mission-specific expertise built through programs like Chandrayaan, Gaganyaan. With Gaganyaan, the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, and future lunar missions on the horizon, retaining institutional knowledge could prove just as critical as developing the technologies that will take India deeper into space. The UK's Labour government is facing renewed political pressure following the release of a convicted grooming gang offender from Pakistan who was allowed to remain in the country instead of being deported. And the case has intensified criticism of the government's approach to deportation and raised fresh questions about past failures to protect vulnerable victims. Shabir Ahmad, he was convicted in 2012 of multiple offences, including rape, sexual offences against girls. He was released this month after completing his prison sentence. But despite calls for his deportation to Pakistan, he could not be removed. Why? Because of a long-standing immigration law, reportedly. The controversy also coming after the Labour suffered major losses in the local elections. Less than 2 years after securing the landslide victory in the 2024 national elections, political analysts saying voter dissatisfaction over the economy, law and order, and the government's handling of grooming gang cases contributed to the decline in support. Andy Burnham, who is widely expected to be a key figure in the Labour's future leadership, was among those calling for Ahmad's deportation, by the way. And while the UK Home Secretary told the Parliament that the government plans to amend laws to make it easier to deport serious criminals convicted of major offences, the issue has also strengthened support for right-wing parties, including Farage's Reform UK, which has campaigned on tougher immigration controls and made huge electoral inroads. The grooming gangs controversy, with several involving men of Pakistani heritage, has sparked intense debate over immigration and criminal justice in the UK. Critics argue that Ahmad's release has reignited public anger over grooming gang scandal. They claim that officials failed to take action because they feared accusations of racism. Meanwhile, Pakistan has rejected any connection to the case. According to reports, Pakistan is resisting attempts by the UK government to deport Shabir Ahmad. Pakistan's Foreign Ministry spokesperson, meanwhile, said Shabir Ahmad should be dealt with according to UK law and that the Pakistani government has no connection whatsoever with the matter. SpaceX shares have fallen below their blockbuster initial public offering price. This has raised concerns that the stock could face further volatility as insider selling restrictions begin to expire in early August. Just for context here, the stock closed just above $135 in Wednesday trading, marking a decline of about 33% from the record highs reached shortly after its June 11 market debut. Despite the correction, SpaceX remains one of Wall Street's most valuable companies, with a market capitalization of roughly $1.8 trillion. $1.8 trillion. The company's IPO raised over $75 billion, but less than 5% of its shares were made available for public trading. And that limited supply helped drive strong early demand and lofty valuations. Now, analysts expect increased volatility as the lockup periods end, allowing insiders, employees, early investors to sell shares. The first lockup expiry is expected shortly after the company reports its first quarterly earnings, likely in early August. More than 911 million shares, currently worth over $120 billion, could become eligible for trading. And that, by the way, far exceeds the value of the shares currently available on the market. Analysts say the increased supply could put additional pressure on the stock price. However, many remain optimistic about SpaceX's long-term prospects, citing its profitable Starlink satellite internet business, government launch contracts, and strong investor confidence in Elon Musk. Even after the recent decline, SpaceX trades at around 49 times expected revenue, which is significantly higher than many major technology companies. The sell-off has also weighed on Musk's personal fortune, as his majority stake in SpaceX has lost value alongside the stock. While he remains the world's richest person, the decline highlights how closely his net worth is actually tied to the company's market performance. Time now for some offbeat stories that will leave you intrigued, raising questions, and perhaps entertained. Here's a question. What if technology could give you one more chance to actually hear the voice of someone you loved? Getting you a chance to tell them everything perhaps you never got to say to them. Because of AI, that idea is no longer just imagination. More families are reportedly now using AI to create digital versions of loved ones who have passed away. These AI-powered ghosts learn from photos, videos, voice recordings, emails, social media posts to recreate the way a person looked, sounded, even responded in conversations. According to a CBS report, American researchers started exploring how technology could help people preserve memories in a more personal way. And their studies showed many people find comfort in talking to an AI version of someone they deeply miss. In a recent research paper, researchers at the University of Colorado, Boulder, studied how people reacted after interacting with AI versions of their loved ones. Participants shared memories, personality traits, stories about those they had lost. Researchers found many were surprised by how convincingly AI actually recreated familiar conversations using only limited information. Several private companies now offer these services reportedly, allowing users to chat with lifelike digital avatars that can answer questions in a familiar voice. Imagine that. But experts are also warning that these AI versions can sometimes generate responses that the real person never actually gave, also raising ethical concerns in a way. Researchers found that people preferred conversations that felt authentic, of course. Even a single unfamiliar nickname or phrase often broke that emotional connection. Experts also clarified, reportedly, that these AI versions are different from deep fakes as such. While deepfakes are created to try and mislead people, these digital memorials, as they are being called, are designed to help families cope with loss and preserve the cherished memories. And as AI reshapes the way we perhaps remember those we lost, it may offer grieving families a chance to feel close to the people they love. And let's now talk about how modern lifestyle has forced humans to cut down on their sleep. A lot of people are guilty of this. A new study now showing that sleeping less is linked to obesity and chronic heart disease. The study also highlights an increase in non-productive work in a working day because of sleeping less. Study by Columbia University showing that skipping sleep by 80 minutes over a week increases weight by 0.5 kilogram. Imagine the impact. The study also found that people who practiced skipping on sleep were more likely to actually spend time sitting down and being sedentary. The study leader highlighted reportedly that getting adequate sleep will help reduce risks of weight gain and obesity-related heart diseases. In fact, the study aimed to study the effects of mild sleep deprivation sustained over a sustained period of time. 95 adults who usually slept for 7 to 8 hours were made to sleep 90 minutes less. In fact, participants wore wrist monitors to track sleep, change in weight, waist circumferences, and body compositions. Time spent in sedentary activities like lying down, idling, increased by 17 to 30 minutes per day. Symptoms also overlap with elevated risk of chronic heart diseases. The study also showing that those who shortened their sleep by around 80 minutes a night over 6 weeks had increased insulin resistance, a risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Argentina are into the FIFA World Cup final once again. But now a major political controversy has erupted. Argentine players unfurled a banner in support of their claim to the Falkland Islands. And the UK government now wants an investigation into the matter. The holders basically produced a dramatic late comeback in Atlanta. The Messi-led side came from behind to beat England 2-1 and book a showdown with Spain in Sunday's final. After the final whistle, Argentina's players celebrated on the pitch, but it was one of their post-match displays that is now attracting a lot of attention. Several players were seen holding a banner. What did it say? It translates to, "The Falklands are Argentine," quote-unquote. The Falkland Islands, remember, remain the subject of a long-standing sovereignty dispute between Britain and Argentina. The two sides fought a 74-day war over the islands between April and June 1982. The conflict claimed the lives of 655 Argentine servicemen, 255 British servicemen, and 3 islanders. In 2014, FIFA fined the Argentine Football Association after its players displayed a banner with the same message before a friendly against Slovenia. FIFA said that gesture breached its rules on political messages and team misconduct. FIFA has not issued a statement or confirmed whether disciplinary proceedings will be opened over the latest incident. The British government on Thursday urged the international governing body to investigate Argentina's team. The UK business secretary had said that the players' behaviour was entirely inappropriate. Listen to this.
My reaction is that it was entirely inappropriate. Politics needs to be separate from football. In fact, the World Cup has one of its central tenets that politics is separate from football. Now, that is now a matter for FIFA. I expect FIFA to do its investigation thoroughly.
Time now for a remarkable story. Wait till you hear this. Football has never written a better script. A random charity photo shoot in Barcelona almost 2 decades ago has somehow become the defining image before the World Cup final. It features Argentina's Messi and Spain's Yamal, long before they were even World Cup rivals. They shared a dressing room corner, and the story behind that photograph on your screen is extraordinary. The year is 2007. A 20-year-old Messi in Barcelona is posing for a charity calendar with UNICEF. A Messi who is still years away from becoming the greatest of all time. A family wins a raffle and the reward is basically a photo with a Barcelona player. That Barcelona player is Messi. Messi picks up the baby, bathes him for the shot, smiles for the camera, and then moves on. Nobody in that room, of course, knew what that photo would go on to become years later. That baby that you see grows up just outside Barcelona, falls in love with the same club, wears the same shirt, And by 16, he is wearing the Argentina legend's old number. His name is Lamine Yamal. And 19 years after that photograph was taken, he and Messi are sharing the greatest stage of them all, the World Cup final. And this Sunday, the boy, baptized by the greatest player of all time, in a way, will stand face to face with the legend himself on the greatest stage for the ultimate prize. The circle is finally complete. Time now to get you the most powerful image of the day. The sacred town of Puri in Odisha in India, immersed in festive fervour as the world-famous Jagannath Rath Yatra commenced today. Millions thronged Puri to offer prayers. And before we wrap up, here's a look at some key events expected to shape headlines around the world tomorrow. What's expected? Prime Minister Modi will be flagging off India's first hydrogen train between Jind and Sonipat at the Jind railway station on Friday. With its introduction, India will join a select group of countries that have operational hydrogen-powered trains. China is set to host the 2026 World AI Conference and high-level meeting on global AI governance in Shanghai on Friday. The Chinese president is expected to attend the opening ceremony to deliver a keynote address establishing China's sovereign AI development and diplomacy. The final day of the 2026 Global Conference of the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development will take place on July 17 at the UNESCO headquarters. The event is aimed at accelerating science-driven solutions for the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION World is One.
WION India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is one.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION Pulse with me, Diksha Bisla. We have lots to unpack on this bulletin. Let's quickly start with the headlines. Iranian news agencies report that the United States launched strikes around Iran's Gulf island of Keshmir near the Strait of Hormuz. as renewed hostilities flared between Washington and Tehran. Yemen's Houthis warn that they will target Saudi Arabia's oil facilities and other infrastructure if conflict escalates between the two sides, days after the airport in the rebel-held capital Sana'a was struck. Ukrainian Security Service releases video it says shows attacks on Russia's Shadow Fleet, and this comes as fighting escalates in the Sea of Azov. A fire burning at an orphanage in Algeria's capital has left at least 11 people dead, including children. And this was amid a heat wave that has sparked hundreds of blazes in the country's north. At least one dead and over 100 hospitalized as a large gathering of devotees during the Jagannath Rath Yatra in Puri triggers a stampede on the Grand Road. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi meets with Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mohammad Ishaqdar in Shanghai, with both sides voicing support for cooperation on artificial intelligence. Wildfire smoke shrouds Toronto's skyline in a grey haze as fire in northwestern Ontario blackened skies and spread into the northeastern United States. Toronto's air quality ranks the worst among major cities globally on Wednesday.